Okay, what is up, Notre Dame fans? I am here at Kenan Stadium where Notre Dame just took down North Carolina rather easily. I don't know if anybody really thought it would be that easy. The final score doesn't really indicate how thoroughly Notre Dame beat North Carolina. It was 45 to 32, but Notre Dame was up by 24 points at one point, I think, and the second half was really a runaway and quite literally a runaway. Audric Estime was running all over North Carolina's porous defense. Chris Tyree had another good game running the ball, and Drew Pine was probably the best quarterback. I know the stat sheet is not going to indicate that he was because Drake May ends up throwing for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, but Drew Pine came out slinging the rock, short throws, intermediate passes, long passes. You saw him connect with Lorenzo Styles for a 30-yard touchdown, kind of a tone setter early in that game. I thought, if everyone was thinking, is Notre Dame going to be able to throw the ball on North Carolina? I think Drew Pine answered that pretty quickly. Patrick, obviously you're there in South Bend where Notre Dame will be in a couple of weeks after a bye week and then playing BYU in Las Vegas. But how did you see it from your couch? Because for me, sitting here in this press box, I thought Drew Pine looked good. The North Carolina defense was thoroughly overmatched, and Notre Dame took it to a team that, Notre Dame's offense was equally as bad as North Carolina's defense coming into this thing, but the Notre Dame offense by far won the battle.
Yeah, one of those had to give, right? And it was definitely Notre Dame's offense looking more like not only a functional unit, which I think would probably be the best and maybe most generous way to describe last week, but like legitimately effective and, dare I say, good or usable or
It was
translatable
good.
going
It was
forward.
good.
And I think the same thing applied where last week you looked at like Notre Dame didn't ask Drew Pine to do anything he couldn't do a week ago. And most of that was just such easy throws that he can make in his sleep, and the ones that he missed or what, when you miss those throws is what leads your offensive coordinator to scream into a phone at you. But I think the same thing is true in this game where it didn't ask him to make any throws he couldn't make. And then you saw that like he can make more throws than the simple ones he was able to do last week. And that's not to say he's going to be hitting those far hash, outbreaking routes that are 30, 40 yards across the field and 10, 15 yards down the field or making all the throws per se. No, I don't think so. This is still a guy who began the year as a backup quarterback, but I think you saw a pretty effective arsenal and just that being able to take care of the ball and look vertically and just look even in the intermediate zone a little bit longer where you saw that. And then just making the right decisions and seeing things well where, it doesn't take a whole lot or a great arm talent to hit a wide open Logan Diggs or open Mayer over the middle on play action. But we see and watch games every week where you see quarterbacks missing those throws and just not letting it rip. And I think you saw that confidence from him where, all right, he saw it, it was open, or he saw the bust and recognized it and just let it rip. So I think the best way I described Drew Pine's game was a confident game for him. But really, I thought the story of the whole thing and why Notre Dame was able to do what it did was a run game.
Yeah, you mentioned a good point there with missing throws. Drew Pine didn't miss a whole lot of throws. Drake May missed some throws, and I think he was close to 50% for most of the game. He probably climbed up over that, maybe even got close to 60% completing his passes. But the guy who you thought was going to come out here and show why he is probably a really good pro prospect, he's only a redshirt freshman, but the arm talent with Drake May is there. He was the guy missing throws. It wasn't Drew Pine. So there were numerous opportunities to Michael Mayer where I was thoroughly impressed with Drew Pine's arm. I said he put that in a place where only Michael Mayer was going to make the catch, and it was pretty impressive. Got a lot of guys involved, too. There were a couple sequences there where Braden Lindsey, of all guys, had a couple catches in like a 3-play span, so that was impressive. Lorenzo Styles looks to be more of a consistent every game thing for Notre Dame, and that's going to have to be the case going forward with the way that Notre Dame wide receiver room is. So really balanced game, too. I think there was one point I was sitting here in the press box and the PA announcer came over. I'm not staring at the stat sheet the entire game, but he said at one point, I think it was like close to 270-something yards for both the Notre Dame rushing offense and the passing offense, and Notre Dame goes for 576 yards. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card. I don't know if you thought North Carolina was going to get close to that number just because this is the best defense that they played, but North Carolina didn't even come close to that. Notre Dame holds them well under 400 yards. So I guess we could kind of shift to the defensive side of the ball. What do you think it was that Notre Dame was doing to keep this North Carolina offense that came in averaging 50 points per game, 550 yards per game, they didn't look like a team that could even come close to that in one game, let alone three, like they did in the first three games. So what was it that the Irish were doing that you saw, Patrick?
Yeah, I thought it went back to just being able to control the line of scrimmage again and really shut down a run game that wasn't really there for North Carolina, and still able to create some havoc in that point. I'll pull up the running back stats here for North Carolina really quickly, but you really didn't get a whole lot out of that group. And we're
No.
Marion Hampton, 10 carries, 28 yards. Their running backs combined 14 carries at 29 yards, if I did this quick mental math correctly. Yep. So really taking that out, and I think it just made North Carolina one-dimensional, not only without its running back threat, but without Drake May's legs, whether that was designed or scrambling, really being much of a threat after that first drive. So the more you make him one-dimensional, I think the more kind of stress that put on him. And I think you saw that in some of those missed throws where, like you touched on it, Tyler, he was 9 of 20 before that 80-yard touchdown that was already kind of in that, desperation and really needing to pull together a miracle part of the game to come back and win there. So, I just going back to the point of, I think it just puts such less pressure on Drew Pine that he had that steady run threat, and all that opened up for you to do with play action, and all that opened up with how much attention they put on Michael Mayer, and Notre Dame being able to shut down that aspect of it from controlling the line of scrimmage and not paying dearly, I guess, for the way it defended Josh Downs, like North Carolina did for its over aggressiveness sometimes on Mayer, and other times just carelessness of leaving him undefended. It really hurt them there. But why don't we touch on the Notre Dame's ground game? Because really, I think that's what the story was, where you look at the end of the game where it's 2 straight 75-yard drives that all run plays that ice this thing, but really kind of almost wire to wire after that, first drive where technically they didn't run the ball. Really the kind of rushing effort that you were hoping to see from this group earlier than you did today, but definitely that you wanted to see today in a game that on paper it looked like a spot where Notre Dame's offensive line and run game could really show out with a productive day.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical of going back to the three-headed monster, the three-back look that Notre Dame seems to be married to in a way. When Logan Diggs was healthy in the first couple games of the season, Notre Dame wanted to use all three guys, Audric Estime, Chris Tyree, Logan Diggs, and they went back to that again today. And I think part of that is the North Carolina defense is so bad that anybody that you gave the ball to in those situations was going to do well. But I still had my skepticism. But Logan Diggs, you have the numbers there, Patrick, so I'll let you read them out. But I mean, Audric Estime goes for 134 yards, a career high. I thought he was going to put a 50-burger on North Carolina there at the end, but he ends up fumbling just before he crosses the goal line. So he's going to want that one back, but he still scored 2 touchdowns at 134 yards. I think Chris Tyree, what did he have, 80 yards? And then Logan Diggs only carried 10 times, and he had to go over 50 yards. I'm pretty sure all the backs were greater than 5 yards per carry, if I'm not mistaken, Patrick.
You would be correct. Diggs was exactly 50 yards on 10 carries.
Yeah, see, so anybody you gave the ball to, and this was a good game for Diggs to get back in rhythm too before the bye week. I think we're going to see those three guys in tandem because that's what Notre Dame thinks that it has is three guys that can do a little bit of different things. And Marcus Freeman said that post game again. So we've heard that time and time again, but absolutely the ground game, as Drew Pine is going to go as far as the ground game kind of allows him to go because like you said, I mean, the stat line was great. He throws for those touchdown passes and he has close to 300 yards, but that's all possible because Notre Dame is also rushing for close to 300 yards. So this is a run-first team. And like you said, this is a team that is playing with the backup quarterback right now. So all of those things are going to make it easier for Drew Pine to be successful. And I think it was complimentary football for Notre Dame in terms of just the offense and the way that the passing game was able to help out the rushing game and vice versa. So, again, you take all of this for what it's worth because it's North Carolina, and this North Carolina team has tons of issues defensively. I mean, there were so many rushes where I'm just sitting up here in the press box saying Chris Tyree's not going to get touched until he's 6 or 7 yards downfield, and that was the case. And if they were touching Audric Estime 3 yards downfield, he was going to plow forward for 3 more. So it was just a really effective game for Notre Dame offensively, and I think that's like drinking I don't know, insert your favorite beverage. It doesn't even have to be an alcoholic beverage. It's like a glass of the coldest water that you can find on a hot day. It's exactly what Notre Dame needed, the way the offense went in the first 3 games, and they came out here and they got it done.
Yeah, in a game that turned into a shootout type of deal, at least in final score. It didn't quite feel like it as much for the duration of 4 quarters, just in that one, the final score wasn't as close as, or was closer than this thing really was throughout the entirety of it. But just in terms of Notre Dame's ability to control the possession and control the game while still being high scoring was pretty much exactly what Marcus Freeman said he wanted Notre Dame to be able to do when he was talking about this game during the week. And really, I think that shows up in Notre Dame had 12 drives, and all but 2 of them ended inside North Carolina's 30-yard line. And now, not all of them were scores. You had the missed field goal, the turnover on downs there on that quarterback sneak, and then Audrey Gastine's fumble inches away from what would have been his 3rd touchdown. But that's the kind of thing where you're just putting yourself in position to get points almost every single drive down there and chewing up a lot of clock while doing it. So you're thinking of, one, limiting possessions, which maybe toward the end there didn't quite happen with just how quickly North Carolina scored on a couple, but also being effective in the possessions that you have, which, getting inside the 30 on 10 straight of those is exactly that.
Yeah, something tells me this game is going to feel like it was ages ago by the time Notre Dame takes the field next time against BYU in Las Vegas 2 weeks from tonight. But in terms of what Notre Dame had to do to get to 2-2 and kind of reset its season going into a bye week. I mean, 2 weeks ago, this team is 0-2 and you don't know where this thing is going. Now it's 2-2 and it kind of feels like a new season in a way because of how dominant it was able to be out here. I think you have at least something in Drew Pine. You have a guy that's going to navigate you through the ups and downs of a season. And no, is it going to be a college football playoff type of season? No, Notre Dame lost that track in the first 2 games of the year, but it's going to be a year where Drew Pine can do some things to win you some ball games. And we saw that today, but we will catch you guys for that BYU game. Patrick will be there. I will be the one on my couch. Patrick will be enjoying Allegiant Stadium. And I just think that this Notre Dame season is kind of, you don't know what you're going to get, because I don't think anybody expected 576 yards of offense, 45 points, and close to a 50 burger on North Carolina. But that's what the Fighting Irish did here today. And as always, you guys watch all of our videos here on this YouTube channel. Go to blueandgold.com, where it's only $1 for 1 year of premium access. We're going to have a whole lot of articles on this game and through the bye week and leading up to that BYU game as well. So for Patrick, I'm Tyler, and we will see you guys next time.